Okay, part 2, lecture 8. Okay, as you saw before, this is the Saigon Silicon City. So it's a bit derivative of Silicon Valley, right? But the idea is the same idea. This one is from 2017. Actually, Silicon City will go longer than that. The idea of recreating the success of Silicon Valley in Vietnam, in Silicon City, is something like this. Architecturally designed, non-university. It's a university, the science part of the university taken out of the university and put in a special business-oriented zone with the idea of really creating innovation that will help Vietnam develop past its competition. Okay, great. Of course, every project like this nowadays needs to have branding. What do you do with a university or research institution in terms of branding? How do you do that? You have a whole series of things you need to put in place. You need a good name. They must have been very happy to come up with Saigon Silicon City. Sounds good. You need a strapline. So you got a strapline here? Not really. And you got the next one. And you need a mission statement. Actually, do any of you know the mission statement of the company? Have you any of you read it? What is the mission statement? We have a branding strap line, I know we talked about that. Light from here will reach the end of the universe, right? Captain Luke, Picard, or Starship Enterprise, or blast off. It's easy to do some sci-fi future. But there's also a mission statement. The vision statement, or the vision and mission of the sci-tech park was something we should read carefully. As one of 3 national high-tech parks in Vietnam, right? So the language of parks is there already. Already thinking about parks. Established by the Prime Minister, Saigon High-Tech Park, SHTP, I think that's an unfortunate initial, doesn't look like a good word, has been developing strongly with a vision. What does it mean to have a vision? Right? The Malaysian science park that I talked about in the first year, they had a Vision 2020. The idea was, because it's a metaphor in optometry. If you have 20/20 vision, that means you have very excellent good vision. Right? I don't have 20, you don't have 20/20 vision. But somebody who doesn't wear glasses, they have closer to 20/20 vision than us. So Mahathir, Prime Minister of Malaysia, had a 20/20 vision. His vision was, back in 1997, that Malaysia would be a fully developed society by the year 2020. Did they make it? No. Global capitalism, the global economy, whatever reasons, it's not likely that global South country can get developed unless some huge way. That you can remove some of the dominance of Europe and America. But the Prime Minister had the vision for his community, soldier or whatever, to become a technology and science city that was ready to enhance the economic, technological, and intellectual base of Ho Chi Minh City and the southern economic region of Vietnam. So the idea is that Ho Chi Minh City and the whole south of Vietnam will benefit from this science Silicon City. That this will be the hub for innovation in technology, economy, and intellectual base. What does that mean? It means all studies, intellectual base, anything to do with the mind, in the science park, which is controlled by business interests. Not by the university, which is about knowledge, but by business interests in the science park, which are about making products for economic gain. And this will ultimately serve as a model for Vietnam. This is what they're planning. To have this model develop the whole of Vietnam. So the vision turned into a mission with five points. To create a business-oriented, financially and technologically favorable environment to attract foreign investment in high tech. That's number one. What does it mean? To attract foreign investment in high tech. High tech is already investing in Vietnam because Vietnam has cheap workers. But what they want is not to be a production center for silicon chips or for phones or for computer boxes. They want to be the innovative part of the process. To develop new ideas. Please. You're off on some other conversation. So this is the plan for Ho Chi Minh City. We're talking about the building blocks for this plan that I'm going to reveal to you after this. The idea is to enable Vietnam to leapfrog into the strategic high technology sector. How important is the frog in Vietnam? Frog is pretty important in Vietnam, right? Traditional culture, frog is kind of sacred animal. You find the frog on pottery, designs, ceramic. Okay? The idea of leapfrog means the frog jumps from the pond into the future. Jumps over the competition out to the front. A leapfrog means you leap over all the other impediments, all the other competitions. To enable the development and acceleration of a high-tech supporting sector. What is a high-tech supporting sector? Besides cheap labor for high-tech assembly, that will be support. There's also innovations in the service sector connected to high-tech, provision of faster network speeds and so on. To facilitate the transfer of technology to targeted industries and domestic companies. This is the key. This science park will only work if the companies from foreign invest and develop, and their ideas are then taken by domestic companies. And you know that every single foreign company does not want to give away its secret. It's intellectual property. And there are laws to protect. You can't copy the ideas of another company. But that's the idea of this. To bring the transfer of technology to Vietnam so that Vietnamese companies can Vietnamese Facebook, Vietnamese iPhone, etc. Do what Japan did in the 60s, do what China did in the 90s, 2000. That's the plan. And this will accelerate and sustain the economic development of Ho Chi Minh City and the southern economic region of Vietnam directly and ultimately Vietnam. This is not critical, it's boost return, it's wonderful, if it works, great. Will it work? No, that will be the critical side. Okay. What will be the critical side? If you don't pay attention, if you pay just go ahead and the session outside, I don't want to see you in the class. Not interested. Now, a company called Sasaki, ever heard of them? They have won the international competition to redesign Ho Chi Minh City. Sasaki. They are based, well, they're a bit everywhere. They're based in Japan and based in California. This is their vision of the future. I was tempted to ask you to imagine the future and draw, like by drawing exercise. What do you think the future will be? That might still happen as a midterm assessment next week. But this is a vision. You can't really see it very well, but it's a kind of canal with some steps beside it and cafes and some 3D projection. And that's what the future looks like. The future will only have 3D projections. But the idea is defining the future of our environment, the place in which we live, through architecture, urban design, space planning, and then some vague things like civil engineering and interdisciplinary expertise. What is interdisciplinary expertise? You are a little bit good at physics, a little bit good at maths, and a little bit good at critical thinking. That could be interdisciplinary. It doesn't have any meaning, but they won the contest. So let's look at the Sasaki design in detail. This is where you will be living. If you live in Ho Chi Minh City, this is your future. This is happening. They won the competition, they designed it, and they built it. The government of Ho Chi Minh City has announced the selection of Sasaki in collaboration with N-City to further explore their ideas for a virgin integrated district in the eastern part of the city. So the eastern part of the city is just empty. The other side of the river. But the part of the river that butts into, like it looks like it's the center of the city, really. From a short list of 6 international design firms, Sasaki global practice, with offices in Boston and Shanghai, blah, 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 blah. Right? They launched in April 2019 with 22,000 hectares. That's huge. That's a really big area for a major international city of central land. The government, the amazing thing about Vietnam is the government owns the land. You can't really buy the land. And they are able to decide to give that land to this future planning. Right? And it's across District 2, District 9, and 2. What does it look like? So this is the area. You see here is the river. Alright, this is District 2 here. This is District 1. So just on the other side of the river and really big area. And what are they going to develop there? It's going to have 6 innovation hotspots. So 6 areas where there will be most of the future research jobs. Research jobs in different areas. Connecting research, entrepreneurship, academic industry, and industry to local communities to create a diverse innovation ecosystem. I don't think there's anything ecological like environmental, that just means a arrangement. But still, what will it look like? Let's look at them one by one. The third again, this is the one closest to District 1, just on the other side. You can see it from, if you were in the Ho Chi Minh Museum, the old port is directly across from there. And this is going to be a critical mass of financial services companies. Right, so accounting, banking, all those are kind of, what they call it, third tech hub. Now you must know there's a big controversy of Yutian about the people who are displaced when they decided to build District 2. A lot of people who were encouraged to sell their houses so they could move for the development of District 2, and then they found later that the land was worth a lot more than they got for their houses. And they're protesting. But now this is what it will look like. Well, this was the plan in December 2019. Okay? It's alongside the Saigon River, and it's visible from District 1. From any of the large buildings in District 1, you look down onto this. So it will be a really central hub, like many cities have. Like the development of Canary Wharf in London, which is right next to basically the centre of the city. The whole port area of the city of London was turned into a financial hub, a world-leading financial hub. Then along one of the canals, a health hub. So a whole series of health research. And this is very important for everything from seriously. Anyway. I would like you to not be bored and not be wasting your time. If you need to talk to each other, go do it outside. Why don't you? There's nothing to lose. You're not getting anything from this. Get out. I don't care. You can have a conversation, but get outside. So for those of you who are listening, sports medicine, biosciences, health and sports related research will be relocated there. But TNT has investment in research in these areas. So some of the researchers from the faculty here in sports science will move to this new location for sure. Whether they move as part of TNT or as part of a new organization is not decided yet. But this is part of the plan. Look again at their vision of the future. Can they imagine the future? Just 3D projection. And that's Right now they're personal units that will do 3D projection. But it's basically the same concept of the future. The future is just going to be the same with 3D. Okay. Then there's the SciCon high-tech park and automated manufacturing hub. Automated manufacturing as a kind of area of research. This is business production, right? To take away jobs from the manufacturing sector, basically. To automate commodity production. Okay, nobody wants that kind of job anyway. It will hopefully put out of work all of the sweatshop kind of labor. Now, what happens to those people whose jobs are lost is a different issue, but that's the plan. To move into, and this is the future of capitalism, right? Increasingly to automate, fully automated production. So there are now factories in the US. So the future of capitalism is to remove as much as possible the labor content of manufacture. So there will still be jobs, but more and more people are focused on the innovation part, coming up with the idea of what to produce. The production will be 3D or whatever, automated. What happens to all those people who had manufacturing jobs? As I say, this is a good issue. Probably an important issue, but okay. What are we up? That's how many is that? 1, 2. That's 3. So finance, health and sport, automation, and then the National University IT and EduTech Hub. Do you remember a few weeks back we wrote down all the ways in which education is changing because of digitalization? So even more of that. From what we just had in the last couple of weeks, in the last year, the idea of education at home has taken off. Right? There are so many researchers now working on ways to deliver course content and the experience of being a student at home. And this is what this research lab, this research area will focus upon, and researchers who work on that. So you won't even have to be in class. Some people will like that. And yeah, you can sit at home, pay for your own electricity, your own computer access to the teacher, and the teacher can be just recorded like we're recording now, and in 5 years' time, people will be watching the same thing. Probably not. But researchers have to develop new ways to deliver education. And of course, new thinking on education, new technologies for primary school, for at every level in this research hub. Let's look at the image of the future. 3D projection, but through your device. This guy is printing onto the table some images of picture. Everything else is just some art and cafes. Sasaki has won the future, but they haven't designed an image for the future. The fifth one, Tamda Eco Hub, right? This is in District 2, the bottom end of that area. See, District 1 is about, yeah, the big curve of the river is there. This is mangrove wetland, still, right? It's undeveloped, and they're going to develop these as a research hub for eco-sciences. The most ecologically sensitive district. So if you have an ecologically sensitive district right near the center of the city, what do? Well, the university there, of course. Build a part of the coastal area. It's going to be part of plan to research how to preserve and protect the wetlands, which is absolutely crucial. I'll give you that. And the sixth one, Chungto Future Hub leverages the redevelopment of an obsolete riverfront port, right, as an ideal site for a smart city demonstration project. All right, what there are some very large buildings that are no longer used that were storage warehouses, and inside their warehouses there's a plan to have like a future exhibition center to invite international companies or what have you to showcase. It will be similar to the exhibition center that is there. Over there, there's a big series of huge like warehouse like things that have exhibitions in just opposite Crescent Mall. You know that. Right? But imagine that on a scale 10 times the size. It's really big. And they plan to connect these up and involve arts. So this is something I've learned from the other science parks. That while you're developing the science park, yes, you can build the buildings and so on, but really you've got to get the companies to come and locate there. That's the hard part. The government, like the non-government or relation government, whatever, can build the high-tech corridor. They can build it because they have. But can they get Google or Netscape or whatever to locate there into Malaysia or to Vietnam? That takes time. And the success of all of these projects will depend on one big company landing there. But that will then attract lots of little companies as well, spin-off companies. If Google lands there, then there will be other companies doing the service work for those researchers. If you don't have that, then you talk about it in a nature metaphor. If you don't have that kind of mother hen company, the little chick companies can't survive. You need to have a large eco company or sports company or exhibition company decide to locate there, so it gets a critical mass. So that sense of critical thinking, critical as in a large enough number to start to create a successful environment. Right? If you didn't have that pole of attraction, a large company, the little companies can't come. Why would they go there? It would be an empty corridor. Unsuccessful development far away from, I mean, it's near some of the transport hubs, but it's not exactly close. So in the meantime, when you build these hubs, there's these warehouses, there's these exhibition centers, what do you use the arts for? What do you use more esoteric or aesthetic kind of parts of culture is to fill and attract people to those events, those places, for events. So you're going to use it as a future exhibition site. But first of all, you get people used to going there by putting on some important concerts or cultural display or something like that, which is not the innovation, not the original, it's not the final, it's not the plan. The plan used to make it into like a science park. But in the meantime, you start to use that area to develop something. So in the Australian Technology Park, for example, they hadn't yet got any big companies to come, but they had the old rail yard buildings, the beautiful big buildings, and they turned it into a kind of market for craft. Every weekend, every Sunday, it became the most famous place to go and buy craft work from the countryside or imported. You could buy, maybe you could buy lots of things from Vietnam, imported to Australia, and they were available at this market. Little hats and those little cardboard pop-up cityscapes, remember what them, and t-shirts and stuff. And then they still hadn't been, after 1996, they still didn't have a big company. They got the Sydney Olympics company, the company that was putting on the Olympics, to base their headquarters there. They started to bring in the services, because the Olympics company were running the Olympics in Sydney, at a different stadium, from that science park. They needed to have all the services. Then after that, company become controlling because the services were in place. And you've got to work out how best to use the development of the site to attract a large company. What else do you need to attract a large company? You want them to come and do their research, the most exciting part of their research in your own country. You have to give them tax breaks, easy visa entry. And this is before COVID. Discussion, but it's also affecting COVID. Tax incentives, fuel transportation hub connections for them, with special services that expat scientists would like. A whole series of ways to smooth the entry of these companies, foreign companies that are, we hope, going to transfer technological development to domestic companies. So domestic companies need to be attracted as well, and there has to be incentive money to get the foreign companies and the domestic companies to work together. Remembering at the same time to hire the graduates from universities like TET. So many things are being thought about in this development of the city. Let alone, you know, that any new area of the city really only takes off when you have a whole lot of other informal services start to arrive. But think about this area down here where the new buildings are going up. Some of them are a bit like deserts. People have started to move into the buildings, but everything looks a bit cold and clinical. Only when the shops start to come in, and only when then the coffee maker or the bun meat cart or whatever, you even get to feel like there's any reason to live there. Kind of culture develops. In another area where they built high-rises maybe 10, 15 years ago, that has already by now established itself as a place worth living. Think about around July North and Sky Garden or and around there is really a lot of small necessary services for living, cafes and carts and so on. These new parts of the city will need that. But critically thinking, who is going to do the work in these science parks? And who has thought about all the different workers that will be needed? From cleaners to landscape to informal sector. And who is interviewing them? Right, there's so much research to be done in this area. It's interesting that this smart city thing, this is from Nandan, when? Earlier this year. No, late last year. They signed trade development agreements with the US to facilitate this process. And the idea is that the center of control of the brain of a smart city, We'll be collecting and analyzing real-time data and information to help decision-makers government plan. So they're already building in a self-assessment. But it's more like an automated one, statistic. They're not asking the workers in the work there to do the assessment. They're taking data and information. So that's an interesting one, but they've got a total investment of 1.4 million just for the data. A massive amount of information. I can show you the most recent updates on their website as well. I hope. Okay, I'm going to escape from that. So this is the Sasaki website, better design together. So their ideology is inclusive. They want to design together. That means Shanghai and the US with Vietnam. They won the competition. Their website focuses on all these things. Better design together. Design has the power to improve the world around us. These are what I call boosterism statements. You can be very critical of this because they have no real content. You can't read it. It says, we know that design has the power to improve the world. Does it? Yeah, thank you. Their practice is based on 6 core disciplines. Architecture, interior design, planning, urban design, space plan, that's 7, look. One is interdisciplinary. And they're interested in clients, values, diversity, and voices. They have to include diversity. And did you ever see a worker's helmet that was painted in this very creative way? It looks so much better on the website than on the projector. Sorry to say. Oh. What is wrong here?